all you freaks and geeks out there. We are the Square Round Table. The Square Round Table podcast is brought to you by Science on a Postcard. Science on a Postcard is an online store that specializes in science-themed enamel badges, lanyards, environmentally friendly tote bags, notebooks, and lots more goodies that represent individuality and inclusivity in the scientific community. You could find all these wonderful products on scienceonapostcard.com. And for all our YouTube watchers out there, we will add their website and all their social media platforms in the description below. And now a word from our sponsors. The Square Roundtable podcast is brought to you by 2 Photon Art. 2 Photon is an art collective whose primary mission is to make science more accessible through science communication and art. Some of their art includes science-themed patches, jewelry, stickers, zines, and clothing, all of which contribute to the inclusivity, equality, and the overall advocacy for human rights in and out of the scientific community. You can find all of these wonderful pieces on 2photonart.com. And for all our YouTube viewers out there, we will add all of their website and social media info in the description below. What's going on, everybody? All my freaks and geeks out there, we are the Square Round Table. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am your host, Chad Singleton, and these are my wonderful co-hosts. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys.
Josh Singleton.
All right, guys, and we have a very special guest with us tonight. Our guest is an award-winning gospel singer. He's also an AeroSpace engineer and the founder and CEO of Stemusic. Let's give a big Square Round Table welcome for my boy, Roy Moye III.
Hello. Happy to be with y'all.
What's going on, Roy? How you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. Grateful for this opportunity just to come on this podcast and see what y'all are doing, but also to share my story a little bit. And hopefully all of us together will be impacting more people as you guys are already doing with this podcast.
Of course. Well, yeah, no doubt. But
Josh.
But yeah, Roy. To start it all off, what is Stemusic and how are you able to create Stemusic?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I created Stemusic, founded it officially in November of 2019. So November 1st of 2020 will be our 1-year anniversary, which is super exciting.
Wow.
But I happen to be an aerospace engineer. So just a little quick backstory of myself, and then I'll jump into it just so that it'll make sense a little bit, is I was born in Kaiserslautern, Germany, because my father was in the Army. Lived in Tacoma, Washington for a little bit, and then did most of my growing up in Raytown, Missouri, which is a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri. I've always loved airplanes since birth. There's never a time where I just never loved airplanes. And so from that, I kind of said, what could I do to design airplanes for a living? Like that was kind of a big dream of mine as a child. My parents kind of helped me figure out aeronautical engineering. That might be something that you could do. So then, progressing through high school, I ended up going to Wichita State University, which is in Wichita, Kansas, which is where I reside right now, and majored in aerospace engineering, minoring in mathematics. And throughout that journey, I also sang a lot. I've been singing since I was probably 5. Every singer says, I've been singing since I was 3. So something like that. I don't know when it started.
Around that age.
Right. My father sings, my grandfather sings, and so I'm named after them. So I'm Roy Moye III, my dad's the second, and my grandfather is Roy Sr. And so we all sing, and that's kind of where I got it from, and been singing for a while. And actually for the past 4 years, I've been a local gospel artist here in Wichita, Kansas. And so as I was going through college, I was doing a lot of talent shows, singing for national anthems for our sports teams at Wichita State University and in the city locally. And I was in a sophomore class, my sophomore year of college. I was in a class called Materials of Engineering. And this is all about material deformation, composition, how materials behave under pressure, under stress. And it was very vocabulary intensive. So it wasn't necessarily about solving math problems or science problems in this class, but it was more about, memorizing definitions and terminology. And so we got to a section of the class talking about material deformation, and it was just a lot of vocabulary. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna remember all this stuff for the test. What am I gonna do? And so I just kind of was like, I'm gonna remix a song to help me remember. And so some of the terms in that portion of the class were crack propagation, creep, and other terms like that. And so with the term creep, I was like, yo, TLC is going down. And so I was like, so I creep, yeah, crack propagation along the boundary grain. I mean, just like singing, making up the verse, you know, filling in their words, their lyrics with the lyrics for, or with the definitions for this test. And so I sang it in my head on the test, got an A on the test, and I don't know, it just was something fun. It's nothing new, right? Like we learn our ABCs and other things through song, through music. And so, but from that moment, it was an idea. And so kind of that's the genesis of STEM music, of like, you know, using a song to help you out within the STEM field. And so a couple years later, I'm in this organization called Real Men, Real Heroes. It's a nonprofit organization, male role models empowering youth to build stronger communities. And I'm still involved in the organization today as a mentor. And they wanted me, once I joined, I began to do a lot of STEM activities. Our demographic of our kids who are in the organization, we call them future heroes, predominantly young black boys from 3rd all the way up to a senior in high school. And so they were like, yeah, we want you to continue to do STEM stuff. We want you to maybe do an activity on math. And I'm like, first of all, I don't even really love math like that, for real, even though I graduated with a math minor and graduated with my AeroSpace Engineering degree. And I'm like, I already know that, unfortunately, within the Black community, and by the way, I happen to be half Black, a quarter Puerto Rican, and a quarter Mexican. So I'm half Latino, half Black. And so I'm like, in the Latino and Black community, like when you talk about math, you know, it's like, ain't nobody trying to do that. Or like, it's just, it's not the best connotation. And so I just began to rack my brain of like, how am I going to talk to these they were like 3rd through 5th, you know, students about math, and like, how am I going to make it fun? And so that's when I began to reflect on the moment I had in college in that materials of engineering class. And so I took Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nay Nay, and I remixed those lyrics to Watch Me Solve This Equation, Watch Me Solve this equation. And the whole song was about solving for X. So solving algebraic equations. And I, you know, recorded the whole song and then like showed up and had the students, and I was like, but before we even get to doing, you know, solving these problems, solving for X, I want to just share this song with you. And they were so hyped. They were just like, because at the time, this is 2016, I believe, the song was huge, right? Like it was so popular in the country. And so like, they were so hyped, they were so excited, and it kind of just sparked something in me like, wow, this is very impactful to see these young Black and brown boys so excited about math. They were like running to the whiteboard to write up their equations and solve for X. No, I want to try it. No, I want to try it. And it kind of like the fear kind of left the room. And it was really cool. Even those who were making mistakes, you know, and obviously as the teacher, I'm not like, oh, you made a mistake. I'm just like, all right, let's walk through it. You know, let's figure it out. And that was very special. And so it was in that moment that I was like, you need to do something with this. Like you actually need to take this a step further. So that's 2016. But because of insecurities, because of like, nah, you don't even really love, you know, I actually want to be a professional singer. Like that's been my whole, you know, once I got to college, things kind of shifted because I was like, I actually really don't like this like I thought I was gonna like it, right? And so, you know, naturally singing came to me and just the creativity within that. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. And I was like, I'm just gonna, you know, get this degree, but really that's what I want to do. Even starting out working in my job professionally as an engineer, it was like, this is still my dream and my goal is to become a singer. So I'm like, who are you, Roy, to tell kids or anybody like, you should go into STEM, you should do, you know? And so it took me literally, you know, years of just sitting on this idea because of the insecurity, and finally my friend, one of my good friends, my best friend, she was like, you know what, Roy, just don't do it. Okay, it's fine. Just, you don't have to do it. And I'm like, and in that moment I was like, no, but I have to do this, you know, like, it's kind of like, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, your parents are telling you like, I don't know, they're telling you something and you're just kind of like ignoring it, and then they say, okay, all right, I'm gonna take it away. And you're like, no. Like that's reverse psychology. Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm doing it. And so in January of 2019, I not only had that moment with my friend, but I bet myself, I was like, just write one song and record one song. That's all I want you to do. All I need you to do. And so I recorded our theme song. We call it Stemusic. And I was just like, wow, I really love this. Like once I recorded that song, then I went to the National Society of Black Engineers convention in March of 2019. and was just like, hey, you know, I was heavily involved in the organization in college. So I'm like, hey, can I maybe perform this song at the Nesby Jr. karaoke night or something like that? They're like, yeah, we know you, Roy. We know you can sing and all that. So I like get up and I like perform this song, and like the kids are like feeling it. The parents are going crazy. The DJ's like, bro, I need that song. I need that song just for me. And I'm thinking like, what? This is like a song about STEM. It's about, you know, it's so crazy. And so after that experience, it was like, okay, regardless of how insecure you feel about this, you need to make this happen. And so I formed the LLC and got everything officially created November 1st, 2019. And literally, it's just been one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced, even up to this moment of just the growth of the company, the excitement around what I'm doing with combining STEM and music, which is nothing new, right? Like this is something that's always been out there, but I do think that I have a unique and creative angle of producing this music. And so it's been really cool to partner with organizations, my local school district, Wichita USD 259, doing concerts prior to COVID. But that's the journey of how STEM music came to be, and I'm in love with it. I never thought, you know, for the past 4 years I've been singing gospel music, and I never thought that I'd be in love with singing children's music and making children's music. Like that was just never a goal, a dream. In my singing dreams of wanting to be a professional singer, I never thought it would manifest in this way. But I'm super happy and excited about it.
Yeah. Wow, that's really awesome to hear, man.
Yeah. I mean, you never know like where you're gonna be when you first start off anything. Like going to college, like you're just trying to find like something to do. Like you're like, oh, I like math. Yeah, I could be a math teacher or something like that. And then like you lead you to like where you are now, and you're like you're loving what you do. So you never know. And all it takes is just, you know.
I think for students too, it's like you really don't know, and you can't know until you experience it, right? Because like my love for airplanes is so genuine. Y'all just saw me talking to Josh about avionics because I love airplanes, but it was like, oh, maybe I don't love this part of the actual like engineering side of things. You know, there were cool parts of it, and there still are cool parts of it in regards to designing parts, like, you know, for a living, designing parts for airplanes like that. You know, when you do take the bird's eye view, it's like, whoa, that's kind of cool. But when you're able to experience and grow and actually see, you know, how this works in regards to engineering, in regards to singing, and now in regards to working with children, and like the combination, I think that was the thing for me too, is like STEM music for me is a sweet spot that I did not know existed for me. And that is that I've been working with kids for over 10 years. I've been singing for a long time, was, you know, gospel artist, recording music and putting music out, EPs and all of that. And then, you know, went to school for a STEM degree in aerospace engineering and worked in the industry, you know, for at least 5 years now. And so it's like all of that is like coming together for STEM music, because I need every single one of those things for STEM music, which is really something I could have never planned.
And that's true. You can't, you know, it's just one of those things to where it's like you're, especially when you're in it, looking back on it, this is like, wow, you know, this avenue took me here and this avenue took me there. But when you're in the middle of it, it's just like you kind of feel like you're all over the place, you know?
Yes.
So, and it's so refreshing, like to hear you talk about pretty much your passion for singing, and then your passion for airplanes, and that when you kind of got there, it wasn't exactly what you thought it was going to be for the most part. Because that's a big thing for a lot of people in the scientific community. Like I know I felt it, and I, you know, talking to Dmitri and Josh, like we've all taken, it's never a straight path. You know, it's always dips and dives and turns. Like I remember because I got my undergrad degree in biological science, and I was so determined, and I was just like, you know, once I get this thing, this is the thing that's gonna, you know, make me happy. You know, this is gonna make me whole. And as soon as I got, it, I'm just like, huh, okay. And
not what I thought. It's like, not what I thought. Not fulfilled all the way.
Exactly.
And then you get a job working in a laboratory somewhere doing stuff that you read about, you know, all throughout school. And then it's like, okay, this is the thing, this is it. And then you do it, and then it's just like, okay, I like it, but you know, like, cause I'm terrible at math.
Like I carry, I tell people all the time, I carry around a tiny calculator in lab with me. Like I'm just like.
And I think that's the thing too, though, is like coming and that's what Stemusic has been teaching me. I mean, the insecurities are still there, but the more I share them and talk about them, it's like that's okay. You know, it's like I can solve problems and equations. I just might need the calculator. I might not be the person who can do it in my head, and that's okay. Like, and sometimes that's so hard though when you feel the pressure of what, because you tell people that you're an aerospace engineer. People are just thinking like quantum physics things are just like, you know, people look at, and I don't lead with that. People are like, what? You never told, I'll be on like trips, you know, especially in the faith side of things, maybe you're at a retreat or you're learning, and people are like, you do what? And I'm just like, see, this is not why I wasn't trying to say nothing, you know, but I think, you know, the music, the beauty in the music is that it is teaching me to lean into it. And case in point, so when I launched Stemusic LLC in November of 2019, I launched the Stemusic EP, the introduction EP, like 2 weeks after that. And there's the theme song that I recorded in January of 2019, and then there's a song about science, technology, engineering, and math, because it's the introduction. And the math song was something that I was like, I can't believe I'm making a song about math, and I really don't even, you know, like, even though I have this math minor stuff, like, this is just so, you know, it just was like, what am I doing? And so as a songwriter, right, like, especially coming from the gospel world, you're writing about things that are real. I mean, really, not even the gospel world, R&B, the songs that we all love in this world are because an artist or a songwriter was very real, very transparent. And so it was like, are you gonna be real, or what is this math song gonna sound like? And so I'm so proud of it now, but at the time it was very hard to be like, are you sure this? So the very first line of the math song is, me and math really haven't been friends, but can I tell you that's not how this story ends. See, calculations are needed in this life. Like, when I'm at the store, I need to pay the right price. And then it goes on and on and on. But that's like the first line of the song, because I'm like, I need to hit this head on, and not only hit it head on, but be able to, you know, I'm thinking about my audience, you know, young Black and brown kids. It's for, the music is for everybody, but I have a specific, you know, target of trying to reach more Black and brown kids in STEM. And so what better way than to acknowledge that fear that's entrenched in our community right off the top, to where it's like, oh, okay, somebody's saying this, somebody's addressing this, to where now I can maybe, you know, try. Maybe I can not have so much fear. And so it was hard for me at the time, but now I'm so grateful that I did it, because every time I sing that song, I'm able to lead with that when I'm in front of students, and just be like, it's okay. It's okay to have a certain feeling towards it, but it's also okay to be like, you know what, I can still try, I can still give my best effort, and you know, do amazing things within STEM. Because I think that's another thing that I learned too that helped me finally start it, was like, just because you may not want to do what you're doing in your career for the rest of your life, doesn't mean that there's not a young Black or brown kid, Black Latino kid, who wants to do it. There might, you know, there could be so many kids out there who actually want to do stuff in STEM, but they don't know that it exists, or they don't have the roadmap, they don't have the access, they don't have the role models or whatever. And so it's like, at that point, it becomes, stop being selfish, Roy, and I need you to do this, you know. So
that's definitely awesome. And
oh yeah, definitely, Roy.
for sure.
And another thing, it's funny how you said how it kind of all blends together, and with your career and whatnot. Do you use your music to kind of help you remember some of those parts in your aerospace engineering? Or?
Oh, in my career, I was working on something the other day. It had to do with bonding and grounding of this certain part, and I was like, you know what? I don't really know this as well as I'd like to. Maybe I'll use some music. I ended up not doing that, but I haven't necessarily used it in my day-to-day career. But over the summer, I had the chance to present to some students about. They wanted me to present about engineering careers at Spirit Aerosystems, the company I work for. And I was like, that's gonna put a whole bunch of high schoolers to sleep. Like, I just, you know, like, you know, when you was back in high school, somebody's gonna come and say, this is what design engineers do, and this is what stress engineers do, and this is, and so I said, could I try to do something unique and use some of the things I do within this company that I have called Stemusic? And they're like, sure. So I wrote this whole song about the different, I think 5 different engineering disciplines at Spirit. And at the end, there's like this crazy fast rap that's like da 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 da. And needless to say, it was very interactive, and I think the students learned a lot, but were also engaged. And so in that way, I have used it for something that was work related, which was really cool too, because my target audience, I'm always thinking elementary school students. I haven't really been thinking about, high school students, and to see them still be engaged and impacted by that was really cool. Like, oh, well, maybe this scales up more than what you thought, so.
Yeah.
No, seriously. Because even with you would be surprised just how much that crossover happens. Because when we were doing research on you, just trying to figure out some things about you, we came across your math song. I was just like, Joshua, did you hear this? This is crazy. Like, it's such a catchy song.
So y'all heard the song.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Yes, definitely. Because when
Great
he said me and
bars.
Math ain't never been friends, I'm like, yes, that's my song right there.
I be dancing too. It's so fun when you get to the chorus, doing the math. Hey, doing the math. I just be
Yes.
doing my little salsa to it. I love it.
Definitely, man. It's completely awesome because it's like guys like me and everybody on the Square Round Table, and I'm working with another nonprofit called the Black Science Coalition and Institute, and all of us are advocates for art and advocates for STEM and just getting young African Americans, young minorities interested, and and we're kind of at the beginning stages where we're kind of cutting our teeth and figuring out exactly which way, because it is tough trying to figure out which way we can get people interested. And just seeing somebody like you is really just kind of leading the way, because of course you had stuff before, like everybody knows, like Schoolhouse Rock, Conjunction Junction.
Right. Huge inspiration. Huge inspiration.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right. But just to take that concept though, because you don't see it a lot, because I know I'm rambling a little bit, but even because it's a huge deal for me, because when I was younger, like you said, and I don't know how it was for you growing up, but I didn't really have that person to look up to that looked like me, because the guy doing the fun, awesome, science communication was Bill Nye the Science Guy, and he was awesome. But, I'm still, as a kid, I'm still thinking of being a scientist as a career that's not for me, because I haven't seen anybody that looks like me doing it. So.
Exactly.
Right.
And I wish that I had somebody like you when I was a little kid.
Thanks, man.
Thanks,
man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, definitely. It is.
I think that matters so much. What I happen to be very self-driven and like obsessed with airplanes to the point where I was just like, this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna go do it. Right? Like, I wasn't the person coming into college like, I think I want to do this. Oh, but I'm gonna change my major to this. I'm gonna check. Like, I was so like, this is what I want to do. But I will say, and I fortunate enough to grow up with both of my parents, who were super supportive. No, they weren't like STEM, they weren't in the STEM industry, but they were super supportive. My dad kind of was in the STEM industry. I came to find that out just like this year in the Army. He tested, he's still doing it right now. He tests fuel for military transportation vehicles, like, and works in a lab. And I was like, I did not know this, I just didn't, because this was back when I was a baby that he was in the Army. Then he got out, and then like 6 years ago, he went back into the reserves. So like, for most of my life, he wasn't doing that. But like, I was like, that's so wild to like know. But they supported me enough. But I will say, when I got to Wichita State, and I joined NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, on the campus. So I didn't know about NSBE as a big, society. I didn't know that yet. I just knew of Wichita State. And our advisor, she was in STEM. She majored in chemistry, I think, when she was back in college. But her husband is an aerospace engineer. And she introduced me to him. And I'm telling you, when I saw him and met him, it was like, all my life I had been like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. But it was like, oh my gosh, I actually can do this. It was like, I don't know. And I didn't know that I needed to see that, because I was so self-driven. I didn't really need, but when I saw him and met him and talked with him, and like, he was a private pilot, training to get his private pilot's license and all this stuff, I was just like, wow, this is actually real. And it helped me so much just to be like, one, to have this mentor, but two, to be like, okay, like, I know this exists. And then when I went to NSBE conventions and, conferences and all, and then you start seeing more, then you're like, oh, okay, no, this is, but he was the first one, and I did not know that I needed that. So I fully understand what you mean when you don't see that representation. And that was another reason why I had to get over my insecurities. It's like, you're Black and Latino, and regardless of how you feel about your career, maybe not being the best engineer or whatever, like, you're a working engineer and you
Like,
have a
that's
degree and you didn't get D's in college, you know, like you actually did it. You know, I be treating myself like I just failed through college and I've never released any engineering, you know, because it is hard, you know, you're just, sometimes you're just so hard on yourself, but it's like, no, you got to let these kids know because, and I guess my belief is like, I just believe like the brightest, you know, those kids are out there that are going to be developing the cure for cancer, that are going to be developing the next supersonic jet, that are going to be developing all these new technologies. And they just need to know that they belong. They just need to know that they can do it and that they're going to have that support. So, you know, speaking of STEM music, like that's why I ended up launching the STEM music podcast, because I wanted to be able to cover stories of multicultural STEM professionals so that not only when I come and do a concert, okay, yay, that was fun, I'm glad I know what the acronym STEM means. But if one of those kids, as they grow older, really want to go into STEM, because I know not every student at my concert is going to want to go into STEM. I understand that. But if they do want to, they can go look at countless episodes. I want to be a chemical engineer. Bam, go look at Ashley McCrae's episode. You know what I'm saying? And so they have this visualization and story that they can really have access to. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like inspiration goes, and having to have like a upfront, like a basically like a upfront kind of like inspiration to kind of like get you to where like, all right, well, yeah, I can definitely do that. As far as like me and Chad's dad is concerned, my dad does HVAC, and I realized, wow, HVAC is STEM as well. And like
Yeah,
just seeing him like
100%.
late at night, in the books doing all kinds of crazy math and stuff, and even with some of the chemicals he works with, it's just like it kind of helped me get on the path to be a software engineer, because again, like I wanted to do STEM stuff as well, but I had no idea what I wanted to do coming out of high school and whatnot, and I just went to so many different pathways to try to figure that out. So
yeah.
with my dad doing HVAC and stuff, it kind of gave me the straightening I needed for my path to just kind of just go for it.
That's
If
awesome.
that makes sense.
That's
No, it
awesome.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, dude.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And Joshua made a great point. You know, it's the same thing, you know, with watching my dad, you know, stay up late and study. And that's like having to, you know, raise a family, go to work, you know, provide, and still able to sit there with that ridiculously huge book. So because at the end of the day, you know, that gave me and my brother kind of like the push we need to say that, well, you know, I'm not doing anything like that, so I have no excuse, you know, like at all. And you know, it's because right now, like, he's in school, and you know, I'm still in school. I'm in graduate school right now, so it's really, thank you, and it's really just the push we need, you know, to keep moving forward. But that's another thing, Roy, that can really deter people away, especially like minorities, from wanting to pursue careers in STEM, because the curriculum is ridiculous.
Yeah,
like
Definitely.
For just like for somebody going to school for something like aerospace engineering, like what was your curriculum like? Like you said you didn't get any D's, so obviously you were pretty good. But how much?
I don't know if I was pretty good. I was an average student. I definitely was an average student. Very few A's, probably out of all my. And I was, by the way, I was a 5-year student. I love to say that because I think sometimes, you know, students, that can be a very like, oh, I don't know. And the way some of these engineering, specifically engineering degree programs are set up, if you miss one class, then it puts you back a whole, you know, that type of situation. But for me, fortunately, when I was a freshman, my advisor was, and this is a good note for anybody who's listening, who's a college student or who's getting ready to go into college, you know, do your research and try to understand yourself enough to what you can handle and what you want. I know it's very hard to know especially if you're in high school, because you're just trying to figure everything out. But I showed up in my advisor's office and he's like, you're going to take 19 credit hours this semester, 20 credit hours this semester, 17, and then 15, and then 18. And I was looking at him like,
overwhelmed.
Right.
bruh, that ain't happening. I'm not doing 4 years.
Nah.
And I literally told him, and I don't even know what it was in me, but I just was like, can we do 5 years? Because I I can't do that. Like, I want to be involved. I want to be able to do stuff in school. Now, did I know how I was going to pay for all of that? that fifth year? No, and not at the time. But I'm glad that I did that, because I did need that balance. I did need to be able to spread things out, so that I was doing 13 credit hours a semester, 14, 12, 15 was like the highest. I did some, in-service or pre-sessions, in the Christmas break and stuff. So I figured out ways in summer classes. I figured out ways to get it done. But yeah, in regards to the rigor of the classwork, that's something I'm very honest with students about. It's hard work. It is hard work. Because I think sometimes we can do a disservice by saying, let's do this fun STEM activity and we're gonna blow this balloon up by doing baking soda and vinegar in this water bottle, and woo, you're gonna be in STEM. And it's like, that is great and that's exciting and that's real science happening. But also there's a very rigorous coursework that comes along with that. And it was hard. I will say, it's traumatic at times, right? Because it's just like, I don't necessarily know. And depending on what school you come from, right? You show up, you're a freshman and you're like, how do these people know this, but I don't know this? Like, what, like, what is going on? You're just so out of place. Then you're like one of the only Black Latino kids in your classes. So it is very hard work. However, I think my biggest recommendation would be, one, make sure you find the folks that can help you in regards to study groups, tutoring, free tutoring on your school's campus, if that's something that's available. And understanding that ultimately, if it's something that you really want to do, you'll figure out a way to get it done. You'll figure out a way to, and that you have it within you. Like I said, I was not the straight A student. Over my 5-year collegiate career in engineering courses specifically, I probably got 4 A's, maybe. Everything else was in the B range, and definitely got my fair share of C's. So it was not the easiest path, and you definitely had to fight for everything you could get. But there were moments in my collegiate career where I studied so hard and was able to come through. I had an advanced, this was like my senior year, 5th year, so super senior year, and I had a advanced flight controls, stability and controls class, and it was so hard. I mean, it was hard for the whole class too. This was like a graduate level class. I was an undergrad at the time. And I just remember, man, I was like, my test averages were they weren't even in the regular F range. I will say that the whole class was doing that bad too. It's just a hard class, but I was like, I'm not like, I can't give up. And so for the final, I just studied my brains out, and I believe I got like an 81 on the final, which compared, if you're getting like a 40 or 50s on your test, I studied my brains out, and it just showed me like, no, you really can do this if you apply yourself. And sometimes it takes longer than a student that it might take them 2 hours and they get the material, but maybe it takes you 5 hours to get it. And so I think it's about learning how to learn. That's a big part, learning how to learn, learning how to study, but also taking advantage of the systems that are available. And I think for me in the future, my hope is, Chad, you just bring up such a good point. If we're encouraging more Black and brown kids to get into STEM, we can't just encourage, we got to figure out a way to help them along that journey. Because what happens is a lot of our Black and brown kids don't have the parents or don't have the aunts and uncles who are in STEM. So then when they bring that homework home or whatever, it's like, I don't know, they're like, I don't know what to do with this. And so then they just get stuck, and it's just this, cycle. And so my hope, what's really awesome is, because I've become, once I started the Stemusic Instagram page, I really began to come to know the STEM community. You guys are included in that, right? I'm meeting you guys right now. Definitely. And what's so awesome is there are tutoring programs that are Black owned. And so like my vision for the future is like, yes, I want to be doing this music stuff, but I also want to be beginning to connect students to these tutoring programs, so that as they grow older, should they want to do this, they don't have to feel alone. They don't have to feel like they're never going to get it, because they can have these resources. And hopefully maybe Stemusic is able to sponsor some of those, so we're still supporting our Black business. We're not just asking them to do it for free. We're going to support them. But, so I'm super visionary and a lot of ideas. I'm an ideas person, but yeah, man, I think you bring up such a great point, that it is important to be honest and say, this is hard, grueling work, but it's so doable if you put your mind to it, if you access your resources and figure out a way to say, you know what, because I remember as a freshman, I don't know if they did this at your guys' schools, but they were like, look to the left of you, look to the right of you, one of y'all will not be here. And I literally was I was like, first of all, somebody told me this, but I didn't believe it was real. I didn't believe they could do that.
No.
And I was like, and in my mind, I was like, I don't care. I don't care if I have to like crawl on concrete in my bare hands and knees like the whole time. Like I am not, it's not gonna be me. Like I was like, nope. So
Yeah. Look,
Yeah,
like,
they did
like,
that all the time.
Yeah.
Cause me
Yeah.
like,
and
why do they do that? That's so horrible.
it's terrible, right?
it's the
Yeah.
worst. Cause they'll sit there and be like, "Oh, look to the right, look to the left. You ain't gonna see them next semester or next year." And you're just like, "But I know them. Like,
Right.
like other people I
Right.
know."
Man. And look, because
Right.
me and Demetrius actually, me and Demetrius were roommates. He was actually the first person I met when
Oh wow.
on my freshman year of college.
Yeah.
So,
Where'd you
and
guys go to school?
Fort Valley State University.
Fort Valley State University for sure.
First
And
year.
and the funny thing is, like, Demetrius, did they lie? Because we
They
we,
didn't.
look, we came out of this thing golden, but so many
But
guys,
so many failed. They did. They
just-
Yeah.
they
they
just
fell
didn't
off.
make it, man.
They fell off one by one.
It's the thing, and it's it's real, and honestly, it's really unfortunate because, but the big part of it, Roy, honestly, and something that helps is just this conversation.
Yeah.
Because whenever I talk to people, and because I have people hitting my inbox sometimes asking just STEM questions, or people in school that need help, and I'm very blessed to have been through it, just like my guys here, and to have come out the other side of it.
Yep.
And one thing I always say is, it's not, and I'll get to that in a second, but failure isn't something that inhibits success. Quitting inhibits success.
Yes.
So at the end
That
of the
part
day,
right there.
yeah, because at the end of the day, and I felt the same way. Me and Dmitri is both. Me and Joshua, because I talk to Josh all the time. Like, he's always struggling or talking about, man, this is going to be tough. But what do I always tell you? By the end of the semester, you're going to make it work.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, so
You gotta figure it
Also,
out.
like, and also another good thing to remember to help you get through it is to definitely be real good friends with those 2 30-year-olds that go head to head for the right answer.
I'm telling you. Right, be friends with the people that are killing it in
Killing the
class.
game.
Yes.
Yeah, sit right
Yes.
next to them, bro. Soak up that
But-
knowledge. Like they
Yeah.
got it.
But people, especially, like I said, because going to HBCU, we've seen it. Guys that, we started off with, and at the end of it trailed off, or switched majors, or did something starkly different from science, or any kind of, STEM field degree path. We put so much emphasis on the wrong things. Like, because some of the stuff that I heard just being on the campus is, like you said, you were a 5-year student. Everybody had this idea that, oh man, I'm not graduating with my class. I'm not going to graduate on time, or this or that, or they fail a test and then they just drop the class because they're like, yeah, I'm not trying to, no, try it, try to finish the course, try to do what you need to do to, be successful. And at the end of it all, it might, like you said, it might work. There's a class, because I've had it too. For me, it was cell molecular, and everybody in the class were getting 40s and 30s until, the end, when whoever stuck around, we all did well.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't get a chance to get that blessing, which is
Right.
what it was,
Right.
if you just left before the blessing came, So
Right.
Yeah.
but that's a big part of it. I know.
And that's so real, because at the end of the day, it's like it's one of the career fields, degree fields that you do have to go through it. And that's why I thought it was always comical when my friends, a lot of my friends were not from the engineering. I had the engineering friends, but a lot of my friends in college were not engineering majors. And I'd just be like, this is so comical what you're telling me your struggle is right now in your class. Like, that is not a struggle, So yeah, you should know that it's going to be hard. You should know that it's going to be difficult, but you're absolutely right that if you can figure out a way to persevere through it, not only is it going to help you in reap the benefits at the end of the class, right at the end of the semester or whatever, but once you then get into the real world, once you then, when you do have those internship experiences and you come up against problems and issues, either one, you're like gonna just buckle in whatever, Or two, you're going to be resourceful and be like, oh, when I was in class and I didn't understand something, I went and asked somebody, versus just trying to figure it out on your own. Or, you know, really digging deep into whatever it is you're trying to figure out to learn and find the answer. You know, so it is something like STEM, as we all know, at the root of it is very much about problem solving. So it's not even just for, you know, I find I'm using that brain, even though I feel like I don't have that kind of a brain, but I'm using it in other areas of life too, of just solving problems, of just trying to figure out, you know, or iterating a design or iterating a process that's just happening in my regular life and trying to make that better. But I think another thing that I would be remiss if I didn't mention in regards to why I'm so passionate about getting our Black and Latino kids into STEM and hopefully becoming STEM professionals is that is my day-to-day job something that I'm in love with? The answer is no. However, am I able to live a comfortable, healthy, financially stable life that I've never known before prior to graduating with my degree? Yes. Right. And I think that's something that I'm so passionate about. Fortunately, I just gave a TEDx talk like last month. And that was a big part of my talk, was like, we talk about diversity in STEM as like different people coming from different backgrounds, you know, providing better solutions, which is true. But to me, that's the regular definition of diversity. It's very powerful and it's very true. But I also want to talk about how and highlight how just STEM professionals on average are making $20,000 more a year on average. This is, you know, if you're in like computer science, that's like double, triple sometimes, you know, just depending on what you're doing, right? But we'll just go with average, 20,000 more than the non-STEM worker in this country. And so it's like, when you talk about our Black and brown, Black and Latino communities, that is like life-changing. It literally is life-changing. And when many of us as kids, and the kids who are currently kids now, many of us are sold on the dream of becoming the sports star or the musician or the singer or the rapper, right? And I feel guilty because I'm like, you want to do music professionally, shame on you. But it's like, Roy, you actually got your engineering degree. You actually went to school. You're actually working in industry. And by the way, all the funds that are supporting this STEM music business, and prior to that, the gospel business, came from my engineering job. So it's if that's what I was highlighting in the speech, it's like, this is something that could ultimately begin to create wealth in the Black and Latino community. No, I'm not talking about millions and millions of dollars, but I am talking about money that you can actually pay student loans off with. You can actually have the capital to start the business. You can actually help your family members who might need, not the ones who always just trying to steal money, but the ones who genuinely need help. Like, you can help them. You can, and build something to where you can pass down to your children. And so once again, I'm not talking about ultra millionaire wealth, but it can be that stepping stone to help you get there. And unfortunately, within our community, that's lacking a lot of times, right? We all have stories of like, yeah, we didn't grow up with much. Yeah, you better, you know, oh, the lights are gonna be off for today and tomorrow, but they'll be turned on by Friday. You know, like, I mean, everybody has these stories, right? Like, we all know this. And so I just see that, I see STEM as, yes, a way for us to be in an industry where we can bring our genius, our Black genius. Black culture rules the world, runs the world. I mean, whatever you want to look at, it's influenced by Black culture, right? So yes, we get to bring that, you know, Wakanda, we get to bring that into the STEM world, and that is powerful, but also we get to reap the benefits of it. We get to reap the benefits of actually getting that financial stability. And that, to me, when you look 20 years down the road, like, if these kids that I'm trying to inspire now can actually go for it, and we have the tutoring in place, we have everything in place, 20 years from now, it's like, that's a totally different community that we have. You know what I'm saying? So all through something that's so practical, all through something that's like, go to school for anywhere between 4 to 6 years. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be grueling, but it's the likelihood of you becoming that professional STEM, you know, STEM professional is way higher than becoming the professional athlete or the rapper singer.
Right. Like, so basically, to sum it all up, just get out there and do something. Yeah. Try
it. Like, you know, if it's, try it, look into it, get a mentor, you know, challenge yourself. Don't be afraid. Don't think like, oh, because I don't see anybody that I can't do it. No, that's why everybody on this square round table is here, because we want to show that we're out here. We're out here doing it. And,
you got this.
Yeah, like you got this.
Definitely. And I think that's a great thing you said, Roy, because and it's so refreshing because it's stuff that, you know, my parents have told me and my brother over the years. You know, it's stuff that I talk about amongst my my peers, like, you know, my friend Dmitri, and you know, it's just like you look at the statistics, man. Just look at the stats. It's like, you, just to give some parallels, like if you go to school, you know, you do the work, you get the grades, 9 times out of 10 you're getting the job.
Right.
But you can, and if you're, and not to deter anybody, because my thing is, everybody, regardless, everybody, you know, that's out there listening on power214.com or on YouTube, we're not trying to steer anybody away, because everybody has their own talents, and that's perfectly fine. Like Roy, you're, you know, amazing gospel singer, man, you know, and everybody here at the Square Roundtable, you're welcome. Everybody here has their own passions outside of science. But at the end of the day, like I said, you could be a fantastic basketball player, and there's so many of them that did the work, put it in, and because of just that slim window, they didn't really get to where they wanted to be. But if you did go to school, if you did get that degree, and you didn't get into the NBA, where you're like, well, you know what, I got a fallback, and I got something that's going to make me money, and that, you know what that's called? That's that generational wealth, man. That's what that really is.
That's exactly, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, man. And by the way, I'm of the, you know, another reason why I had to like shake the insecurity is like, Roy, you're an example that you can do both. So it could be a play. It could, think about this. You could have a physicist who's a basketball player who is at their job, working in their lab, and making an agreement with their company that during the summer months they're going to be playing ball in Europe. That's like a real thing that could be happening. So we don't have to limit ourselves as Black people or Latino people to be like, I can only do. It's like, no, you actually can do. I sing national anthems at my company. I still to this day, I'm like, God, you just doing the most. It's like, I'm at my desk doing engineering work, and they're like, hey, we're going to have a ceremony for the B-21 bomber. We just won this part of this contract. Can you come on Friday and sing the national anthem for this ceremony? You know, it's like, you can do this. I love to tell kids it's okay to break that box of what that might look like. And it is scary, right? Like this entire time I've been like, but how am I going to do it? My dad, and shout out to my dad and my mentors and my mom, like, you can do both, Roy, you can do both. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, how does that, you know? And they're just like, just do it, you know? And here I am doing it, literally with Stemusic now, like really doing it. So, you know, I think that's something I want to encourage students too, or professionals or people out there. Like, you can still do what you love and figure out a way to make it work and highlight those passions and use those passions to fulfill your life, you know, and not be afraid to pursue a STEM degree while still doing, you know, something that might be either stereotypical or something that you're just naturally good at, right? Because like you said, everybody has their gifts.
Yeah, exactly. And like me and Chad's mom always says, don't put all your eggs in one basket, you know.
Definitely.
Don't do it.
And just getting out there and just doing something, and not saying you can't, or just open up another pathway to help you realize your dreams.
Yeah.
As your mom would say, don't say what you can't do.
Right, never say what you want.
I have to say that to myself all the time. I be saying like, I can't. It's like, Roy, stop it. Take it out. Take that out of your vocabulary.
Because I mean, there's so many possibilities out there, and even if you're, even if your goal isn't directly, you know, different from anything in STEM, you can use some of your passions and mix the two together, kind of like you're doing. And we've had, and you know, this is something, this platform, I'm so happy, and it's truly, it's all God, man. And it's such a blessing to have this platform, to be able to talk to guys like you. And we've had a few other guests, a couple of weeks ago, we had them back to back. They're both Latino, and they're both engineers. Awesome. And, you know, and they both do stuff, you know, one of them's a tattoo artist, you know, and another one has
I love that. I love that.
And just to, you know, so shout out Eliana, you know what I'm saying?
Shoot me their names so I can follow them on IG.
No, surely, I surely will. And one of the first guys we had on here, just to give, you know, a few examples to all of our viewers out there, what you can do with science. Like our first, one of our first guests that was a scientist, David Atlas. He's a robotics engineer that uses his AI program as art, and certain musicians have used his art for their music videos, you know. That's so awesome. It's like, it's so much you can do. But at the end of the day, I think what happened to me, and what happens with a lot of people trying to pursue science, they aren't told. You know, it's not there. They don't, you know, see it. Like I got to a point when I eventually got later on into my like, I guess, career, or later on into my education in college, where I did get those advisors that showed me the different avenues I could take with my degree. But at first, it, you know, I guess, you know, being an 18-year-old, you're a baby, so you wouldn't really know.
Right.
Yeah, so you can't really tack all that on to an 18 or a 19-year-old when it's like, I'm just getting out of high school, so I don't know what to do. So there needs to be somebody there, and I'm glad, you know, there's people like you out there that are showing these kids that there's a lot you can do with science. Like, it's not just sitting in a lab for hours. It's not just, because a lot of people get deterred because the first thing they want to do, they're like, oh, I want to be a pediatrician. Oh, I want to be, you know, and when they finally learn what it takes to do these things, they're like, oh, I don't want to go to med school for 6 years. You know, like certain things like that. So,
and to me, that's the other benefit about like STEM, in the sense that med school and being a med doctor is still a part of STEM, right? Because of science and medicine and stuff. But that's the other thing that kind of blows my mind about STEM is like you can make a decent living by just going to school for 4 years. Like, a lot of these jobs, you don't even need a master's. Master's is good, but like a lot of these jobs out there, it's like, wow. And the amount of jobs in STEM that go unfilled in the current, you know, where we are currently is, I mean, it's in the job industry, it's so crazy. So it's like there's all these jobs open just waiting for people. And so, you know, and they pay well. So, you know, it's just like, let's do the work of trying to get more of these you know, students, you know, especially from our communities, into these positions, or just making them aware so that they know and they're able to access that. But yeah, like, it just blows my mind. It's like, man, 4 to 6 years of school.
That's
you
it.
know, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's all it takes, and then it's like you're really off to the races, you know. But we've been talking a lot tonight about, you know, STEM, and I'm no good. I'm overly biased when we have a scientist on the podcast, so I get a little overexcited. But I do want to kind of dive into, like, you as a musician. So obviously, you know, you're a gospel musician, award-winning gospel musician, and that is so awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're welcome. And what were, like, some of your influences? Like, who do you listen to? Like, what really sparked your interest in this, being like, okay, this is definitely something I want to do with the rest of my life? Yeah.
I guess a backstory to, like, me singing, like, you know, I grew up singing in a house with family and my siblings and stuff. And, you know, in high school, I started singing more. You know, when you get into choir class and they offer solos and stuff, like, I would, you know, get those solos. And so it kind of was like, people are like, oh, you really can sing. You know, and I'm like, okay. But, like, it's funny now that I want to do this professionally full time, because back in high school, you had to pull teeth, because I was not trying to sing for people. In the context of choir, I would sing, but, like, anywhere else, like, you would think, knowing me now, you would think that I'd be going around the high school singing everywhere, and it's just not, it was not me. And I auditioned. Part of that was because I auditioned for American Idol when I was 15, and that was my sophomore year of high school. And I didn't make it past any round. There was a girl in a cat suit that got a golden ticket in front of me, and it doesn't look like how it looks on TV. It's like going to a career fair. And it was at Kemper Arena, which is like, where are you guys based at, in Atlanta?
Yeah,
they're in Atlanta.
Okay, where you at, Chad?
So me and my brother in Atlanta. Me and my brother Josh were in Atlanta, and Dmitri is in Stockton, California, actually.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So think about your event center, Mercedes-Benz Dome, or wherever your event center is, Demetrius. And so it on the floor, it looks like a career fair, though. You know, they have the little drapes and stuff, and they're like all these different, different. Basically, just think about how companies are in all of those different cubicle things that they have. Producers of the show. And so then you go up and you sing, and this different shows do it differently, but American Idol, they did it where you were in a group of 4 and you all went up in a line, like, all together, and then one at a time you step forward and sang something. And our whole line of 4, they were like, thank you so much for coming today. Nobody made it through. But I just remember seeing the girl in a cat suit, but it was at the time when American Idol was very much focused on, like, you know, having crazy people come on the show, because since then has progressed to not be that way. But back then it was still that way. And so when I didn't make it, I was just like, everybody has been lying to me. I was just like, this is crazy. Like, y'all have been lying. Y'all have been gassing me up. I really can't sing like that. And so I ended up, I still sang in choir and stuff, but I just was like, that's not something that I want to do professionally. Then I go to Wichita State, freshman year. I sing a national anthem for the basketball team. And it was just like the whole arena was going crazy. And people, my peers and friends, they were like, what? You sing like this? And I'm like, oh, wait. And so like in that moment, it was like, this is actually something that I wanted to do, but that I didn't believe that I could do it because of the, and it kind of changed everything. And it was like, wow. So I began to really pursue it through college. I auditioned for X Factor when I was a sophomore in college, made it through a couple rounds that time. And so that boosted confidence. Didn't make it to the show. And then graduated. I put out my first EP. It was an R&B EP, summer of 2015. And that really changed the game because, not that it did anything, the EP, but because I made a real EP, I had a release concert, and people actually bought the music. I was like I was like, oh my gosh, like this could really be a thing. And it just kind of made me like, no, I really want to do this. This is what I want to do, because I enjoyed making the music, writing the songs, and then I love performing. Just like any other artist, I guess my favorite thing to do is sing live, And so it's just something I really wanted to pursue. Then, so that was summer of 2015. Then January of 2016 was kind of a rededication of my life to Christ. So I've been a Christian since I was 12 years old, but like it was like a come to Jesus moment of like him asking for my voice. Like, I know that you believe in me and all this stuff, but like, I need you to give me your voice for whatever reason. That was just a part of my journey. And I was like, because I grew up in a very spiritually abusive, legalistic church, like horrible, very, very horrible. And so I had this great relationship with God, but like, I ain't trying to sing gospel music because that means I'm going to be in churches, and I don't feel very good about churches. It was very traumatic upbringing in church and stuff. And so he was basically kind of trying to reconcile that and be like, I need you to trust me, give me your voice, because that's the one thing you feel like in your life you can control, and allow me to heal this part of you and do some awesome things with it. And so it was a very like convicting time in my life. I go to The Voice, like that was January 1st, 2016, where that moment happened of surrender, of like giving my voice to God. I go to The Voice January like 25th or something like that. And I sing the hymn "'Tis So Sweet" as my audition song, which I was not originally going to sing that. And it was a whole crazy journey to get to The Voice, like traveling and stuff. It was crazy. But I get there, I sing that, and then the judge is like, thank you everybody for coming. We just want to see Roy. So I'm like so excited in my head, like, yes, let's go, God. I hear you, God. I see what you're doing. And then the door shuts, and the very first thing that the guy says is like, we're not looking for a gospel artist. But, do you know other songs? And And I'm like, well, I gave my voice to God in the beginning of this year, and like, this is what I'm doing. And like, he just kept asking me to sing different songs, and I could tell like he was kind of frustrated, because you have to think about it in the context. These people are working, like this is their job to find talent to bring back to whoever they need to bring it back to. And I could tell he really enjoyed my voice, and really was like, man, we could use this person. He's a nice person, all this stuff. And so he ended up saying like, oh, let me, give me your number, and if I call you or whatever. But when I walked out of the room, like that was the first time I felt the peace that surpasses all understanding. And I know this is more leaning towards a biblical route now in the podcast, but basically like that was something I grew up hearing all the time. And it was just like, is it real? Is it not real? And that was like the first time I felt this overwhelming peace of like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Even though it was like, dude, this is the moment you've been waiting for in life. Like for these people to want you, because if I would have said, oh no, I'm not a gospel artist, I can sing something else, I'm pretty sure it would have been like, hey man, we want you to be on the show, we want you to go to the next round and all this stuff. And so, but I felt so at peace. And so from that moment on, I just was like doing gospel music, making gospel EPs, having this kind of reconciliation and restoration moment in my faith with Christ. And it was so powerful because after that, so many amazing musical things happened on this journey that I've been on for the past 4 years. being a gospel artist. And so one of those, and this ties into a life lesson. I'm not sure how much time we have left on this podcast, but okay, because this is a story that not only is a cool story, and literally because of God's glory and his grace and his, infinite just wisdom and awesomeness, but it's also a story about, for your listeners, for life. It's a life story of something that I live by, which is a quote, I think by Theodore Roosevelt, a president. I didn't hear it from him, but I heard it from somebody using it. Do what you can with what you have right where you are. And that's something that's like a cornerstone of my life, in regards to a phrase or a quote that I like. And so, surrendering to God, giving my voice to God, so many amazing, opportunities happen musical. And so you fast forward to 2017, and I'm like, earlier that year, a friend of mine is like, yeah, I think I'm gonna move to Nashville because, in Music City, it's known for country, but it's also a gospel music hub. Like the Dove Awards, that's where they're headquartered and stuff like that. Gospel Music Association is headquartered there and stuff. So I'm like, no, I might need to move there too and jump from this engineering job because I want to do music full time, blah, 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 blah. And I was praying about it, and I was like, God, show me a sign. I was yelling at God, sitting right here, because this is my dining room table, and I was like, no, God, tell me. You know how we
Give
get
me a sign.
God. And God had something up his sleeve. He was just like, this fool down here, man, this child of mine. So that year of 2017, the Obamas were having like a going away thing, or no, they're not going away, but a celebration of Black History Month at the White House. And they invited multiple artists to sing. One of the artists was Common, and he has that song Glory with John Legend. But instead of John Legend singing it, it was Yolanda Adams. If you've never seen that video, Google it after this podcast, YouTube it. She like murdered the song. It was amazing. Okay. And as I was watching that, I was like, it just was really cool, because a lot of times as a gospel artist, it's like, oh, you gotta just sing in the church. You got, like sometimes you can put yourself in that, you can trap yourself in that space. And it just, I don't know, it just was like, I don't know, I just saw it as like, oh wow, you can actually do stuff outside the church and not compromise your faith, not compromise, not sing stuff. She wasn't singing nothing crazy. She was singing One Day When the Glory Comes, it'll be all right. Like she's, and so it was really cool. My first EP comes out February of 2017. So that's a month later. And I tell my background singers like, hey, can we just throw Glory? It released in February. So I'm like, can we do something for Black History Month? I want to throw Glory and A Change Is Gonna Come. Like I want to do a mashup. And they were like, yes, they learned it. We did it. Awesome. March of that year, I think March, April, I recorded that same mashup a cappella on my SoundCloud. And so I had already been familiar with the song, all this stuff. So we have a festival in Wichita called Riverfest. And it's like the biggest event in Wichita, Kansas. And so they are announcing the lineup, and one of the artists on a Friday is Common. And I'm just like, interesting. Yeah. So I DM'd him either on Twitter or Instagram. I still have that DM. And there's a whole story about this on my YouTube channel, so I'll try to make it concise. So anyway, I reached out to him, don't get an answer because he don't know me. And I'm basically saying, like, I know John Legend's not coming because Wichita ain't got money like that, so we can only afford one. So I'm like, if you need a singer for that song, let me know. So I told you guys I was in the organization. I'm in the organization Real Men, Real Heroes. So our future heroes, our kids, got VIP tickets to the Common concert. So now I'm like, oh God, is this like? So I'm like, last year, whatever artist came the year before, the future heroes got to meet right backstage. So I'm like, if we get to meet him, I'm shooting my shot. Fast forward to the day of. We get to meet him. I'm like, he's like, hey, what's up? He's dapping up everybody. He daps me up. And as soon as we pull back from the dap up, I'm like, I don't know if you're singing the song Glory tonight, but if you are, I'm a singer and I'd love to sing that for you. He's like, word? Really? And when I tell you my brain, it was like the computation going on in my brain. I'm like, did he, because I just thought he was going to be like, oh, okay, cool. No, he was like, word? And so then we had to take a group picture. Like right after he said word really, we took a group picture. So like that was it. And I was like, okay, well, I took my shot. We take the group picture, it's over with. And he comes and finds me and he's like, are you serious about that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, can you sing? I'm like, yeah. He was like, but can you really sing? I'm like, yeah. And then he turns to the kids. He's like, hey, yo, can he sing? And before they can answer, I was like, one day when the glory comes, it'll be ours. Oh, glory. I was like, I gotta let him know that I can do this. And he was like, word. And he was like, road manager, hook him up, da 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 da. And so, long story short, I get to go, in the green room, like just talking with him. We were arguing about the finals at the time. Like, it was the Cavs versus Golden State, and my family's from Ohio, so I'm all Cleveland. And he's like, what you mean? I don't know if you're gonna sing tonight. And I mean, we're just going back and forth. It was just this crazy thing. And so fast forward, I'm on the side of the stage, and how I knew it was a God moment is because when after he was saying, talking to his road manager to get me, situated or whatever, he was like, bro, you don't understand, like, this has got to be like a God moment or something like that. Because he was like, we have a background singer, and she always sings this part of this song. she always sings John Legend's part, but it's her daughter's kindergarten graduation today, so she couldn't make it. And that's just how I knew that this was God alone. And not only that, because we're in predominantly white Wichita, Kansas, right? And I say that to say, his music that he's doing is like from Common Sense, from back in the 90s up till now, right? Many of these people, yes, there's a Black community here, so a lot of Black people came out for that show. But he also, as an artist, with the artist brain, you're like, I want to do my biggest song. Like, Glory is one of his biggest songs because it was a part of the movie Selma. That was a song that probably a lot of white people came to know who he was. And so for him, it was like a ram in the bush, Meanwhile, I'm like, this is like the dream of my life. And he's like, no, but we really need you too. So I'm on the side of the stage. It's the last song of his entire like hour and a half, 2 hour set. And he's like, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring out my friend Roy. And like, dude, it's just a moment I will never forget. Like the dude backstage was like, mic him up. When he said those words, I was just like, this is really about to happen. This is happening. Roy. And I walk out, and the crowd is just going crazy because they're like, Roy who? The only Roy we know in town that sings is Roy Moye. Like, no. And like, it was like this process, and the crowd was like, and then they just like went crazy. And we literally just had this whole performance. And what was so beautiful about that is in that moment, I knew, like, God, this is the calling on my life. Like, this is what I'm meant to do, because I was nervous. Yes. I was like shaking. I was, everything prior to going. But the moment I walked out on that stage and started singing that song, and then us just having this performance, like, it wasn't you're singing background, stay back there. No, we were like equals on that stage. And he gave me the respect as an artist. He didn't even know me. It was one of the most phenomenal moments. And I say it's a personal story for your listeners, because where did that happen? I was trying to move to Nashville. Did that happen in New York? Did that happen in California? Did it happen in Atlanta? Did it happen in Nashville? No, it happened in Wichita, Kansas. And so I say, do what you can with what you have right where you are. Not to say that you can't move somewhere else, not to say that there's opportunity, but there are things that you can do right where you are with what you have in this moment that can help you advance in your career, in your goals, in your dreams, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And I've just witnessed that time and not only with that moment, but with other things in my life. But that's one that is so, because it's like, I'm in Wichita, Kansas, and this happened. Like, this is so crazy. So yeah, man, I love that story, because I think it's so, hopefully encourages people to understand that whatever goals, whatever thing, I DM'd him. I reached out in a DM and didn't get a response, but credit to our engineering careers and our science and STEM careers, I didn't give up there, And then you had to have a serendipitous moment, a God moment, where he ends up coming to the city. Yes, that needed to happen. That was, as people might want to say, luck or whatever. But then being courageous enough to ask and being prepared, right? Like, I didn't show up and say, I'd love to sing Glory. Do you know the song? Well, like, no, it was like I was ready to go. So, yeah, man, I know it was kind of long-winded, but hopefully it's inspiring for your listeners.
That is very inspiring. Like,
it's 100%.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. But yeah, Roy, speaking about singing and stuff, have you ever released any music, or at least like sang like in Spanish, or came up with like some kind of like Spanish EP?
I love that question. I love that question. Yeah, man. So I am half Latino. I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I love singing in Spanish. I'm actually taking Spanish classes right now. I hired a tutor because I'm just like, I want to get better. STEM music is growing, and I am a Latino, and I really want to be able to connect with my people, connect with students, and just be better at it. So, but yes, to answer your question, yes, on my last gospel EP that I did called Plans for Me. And by the way, for all your listeners, the STEM music and my gospel music is all under my name, Roy Moye III, on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever you listen to your music, it's available. But I wrote a song called Espíritu Santo, which means Holy Spirit in Spanish. And so the whole song is about the Holy Spirit. Written by myself, and then I had friends of mine who know Spanish well, and just checking the grammar and all of that. But yeah, and it's like the joy of my life, because I think it really allows me to connect to that side of me, because language is such a huge part of the Latino culture, obviously. But yeah, so that's out there, and I actually am working on a song as we speak right now that is going to be English and Spanish for a great cause, and I'll give him a shout out. Lee Giat has a cause titled Passage, and they're actually he's going to be himself, he's a pilot, he's going to be flying STEM supplies, school supplies, science kits, and things to train teachers in the Caribbean and Latin America, and it's called Passage. And so I'm writing a song for them, and that's going to be in Spanish and in English. So yeah, I love it, and I can't wait to do a full STEM EP in Spanish. That is definitely a goal.
No, I definitely want that. Like, seriously.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
No,
I
that'd be
did,
awesome.
and like for the past 2 weeks, I think one per week, I did because we're in Hispanic Heritage Month. It ends this Thursday on the 15th. But I did 2 a cappella things where I was honoring, which I didn't even know. I'm a quarter Mexican. I didn't even know that color TV came from a Mexican engineer.
Wow.
Like,
Really?
what? I did not know this. And so
What's his name? Do you know his name?
Camarena is his last name. Guillermo Gonzalez Camarena. I was about to sing the song. See, that's songs, how it brings it back. Camarena. Tu nombre es Guillermo Gonzalez Camarena. That's how I remembered his name literally in this moment. So it's a little jingle that I did with his name. But yeah, and by the way, not only this is so cool to learn. Not only did he have the patent on color TV and like introduced it to America. So, you know, we Americans were always like, we did everything first. It's like, no, he's the one who kind of introduced that. He also was a songwriter and had a popular Mexican song out, when he was doing all this, which is so incredible. And then the other person that I honored was Ellen Ochoa, who is the first Latina astronaut, to go into space. So yeah, from America. So yeah.
That's awesome. Man, that's
good stuff.
It's really good stuff, Roy. Man, honestly, like the big theme throughout this whole podcast is really just resilience, man, and not giving up. And we think, and for you, just specifically, like you were resilient throughout your career. You stuck close to your faith. You stuck to your gut instinct, and I think that was a huge thing you said when you did audition for The Voice, and they wanted you to be something that you knew you didn't want to be. And you knew instinctually, you're like, you know what? If I do this, 9 times out of 10, yeah, it's probably going to pop off, but that doesn't sit right with my soul. And you went with your gut instinct, and look what happened because of that. Yes. And that truly shows that at the end of the day, everything, and that's a good takeaway for our listeners out there. Everything that glitters isn't gold.
And by the way, I forgot, I left out a whole huge thing, and I won't spend a lot of time on it. But man, you're helping me realize this. Like you said, resilience. I told you about American Idol, X Factor, and The Voice. None of those happened, right? I didn't get on any of those shows. Last year, I was on BET, Black Entertainment Television's Sunday Best Gospel Singing Competition show. Like, I actually made it on TV. So it's like, you're saying literally what happened in my life, that yes, I said no, and that didn't work out. But God knew that in 2019, a short 3 years later, that I would actually make it on television, that I would actually be a top 20 finalist on this show. And so, it's like, I'm having a whoa moment right now, like just going down memory lane and getting all of that rejection to then, you know, finally actually being, and even being on that show on Sunday Best, I didn't make it, you know, past the top 20 round, and I was bummed out. And Erica Campbell, she's a singer in a group called Mary Mary, for those who may not know the gospel world. She was one of the judges, and she said something that in the moment offended me so badly, because of what judges used to say on American Idol and other shows like that. She was like, "You're very Disney-like." And in that moment, I was so mad, y'all, because on other shows like American Idol and The Voice, when somebody would say that, especially American Idol, that meant that you were like a caricature. That meant that you really weren't a good singer. You just like, you know, and even though she said I had a good tone, you know, once you hear that one thing, like your mind is just focused on that. And she was the last judge to give her feedback. You know, it was Kelly Price, Jonathan McReynolds, who are also gospel/R&B artists. And they had, you know, given their things. And I'll be honest, it was not a slam dunk, make you have all the feels type of, that was not the audition I had. It could have been much better. But when she said that, I was so offended. However, God was even working in that, because now to be doing what I'm doing, I'm like, oh, oh, like the Disney, like, yes, you're like a STEM music, children's music artist. Like, you know, it just, God knows what he's doing. God knows what he's doing. And so I love that you highlighted not compromising your goals, regardless if it's faith, because some people may not have the same story about faith, and that's okay. But whatever it is that you don't want to compromise, yes, I firmly agree with you. Do not, even this, you know, I'm doing something for a Christmas show coming up, and they were like, we want you to sing this song. And everybody knows now on this podcast, I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. Christmas is about Jesus. But I'm okay with, you know, Mariah Carey, Santa, Baby, all these different songs, whatever. I know, you know, I know where I am with my faith. But this one song they wanted me to sing was like, I say a prayer and Santa answers it. And so, and I was like, look, like, that's too much for me. Like, I can't. And I remember I was on the phone with the producer, like, and I just, the Holy Spirit, and for those who may not know faith, you know, the little small voice or your gut, you could say. But for me, the Holy Spirit was like, you, Negro, if you don't say something right now. And so, and so it's just been those life lessons over my life that I encourage all of your listeners, no matter if it's about faith or anything, like if it's a gut feeling or if it's something that you just don't want to do, you're not okay with, trust me, there's something greater. You know, there's something greater that's going to come that will be fulfilling, that will be right, that will, you know, and that's hard because sometimes you're wanting something so bad or whatever. And so you're willing to do all these different crazy things. But it's like when you stick to your core and what you believe, and don't compromise the thing that you actually want. And I'm realizing this with STEM music, it will reveal itself. It will come into fruition. Sure. And I'm even in a position now where I'm no longer, there's a pastor I follow, Pastor Mike Todd from Transformation Church. And a big message he had last year was the pace of grace and the difference between striving with the V and striding with the D. And he was like, you need to stride instead of stride. It's funny. He's like, nowhere in the Bible does it say, and Jesus with great haste ran with the disciples. And Jesus just took off running to go heal. He was like, no, they let Lazarus die. He let his best friend Lazarus die. And they was mad at him. They was probably cussing him out like, Jesus, why'd you let him die? He was like, ooh, I can resurrect him. I ain't tripping. And but last year when I was hearing that message, I was like, nah. Grind, right? We have a culture of that. Like, you know, I'm like, nah, I can't chill or stride. I need to grind. And now I'm in a season where I'm getting it. Because I'm working really hard with STEM music, but things are just happening. And I'm not in this place of like, it's gonna happen tomorrow. It's like, cool.
Right,
we're creating, we're making stuff, and God is blessing. And so, you know, striding is the way to go because you don't want to burn yourself out or be in a place. Anyway, I feel like I'm preaching now. So
you're good.
It's all good, man. Saying some real stuff.
You're saying some real stuff, and this and I feel like we've been kind of going back and forth, but
I love this though. I'm having the time of my life. This is great. This is awesome to be.
Yeah, we're all having a good time here.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a real important message. You know, just stick with your guns and do what you know is right to do, and totally what you want to do, and everything ain't for everybody. Like what somebody
don't compromise
else has,
yourself.
Don't compromise.
Somebody else has ain't what you're supposed to have. You know, God has a plan for everybody.
We all walk down the same path.
That is a great message. Like, because I'm gonna just talk about myself. Why am I not on this thing? Why am I not at the Stellar Awards? Why am I? You know, like it's like, fool. he got a different plan for you. He might want you to sing in the backwoods of Panama. Like, you know, like whatever it is that he has for you, it will be for you and you'll love it. You'll enjoy it. It's not just about like, oh, it'll be something different and you'll hate it. No, you'll love it. You'll enjoy it. So yeah, I love that, man.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and
Words
I'm
to
just
live by.
words to live by. And, you know, that's why I just think, you know, meeting with guys like you, Roy, is very inspiring. Because sure, yes, like over the years and, you know, especially like African American culture, you know, from what we've had to go through, there's definitely this mentality. And me and my brother, we talk about it with our parents all the time of the mentality of having to go get it yourself. You know, it's like, but the biggest thing is, and I'm liking the revolution that we're having right now, because it's like, instead of me going out there and having that every man for himself mentality, we're bringing other people in. You know, we're not leaving anybody behind, and we're reaching out. And like you said, showing the people that, and that's what you're doing with STEM music, you know, showing people that are younger or showing people that don't know, that haven't been to school, you know, that haven't gone through what you've gone through, sort of giving them a kind of playbook of not exactly how to do it, but this is how I did it. And hopefully it inspires you in your journey.
Yeah,
and I think, go ahead. Demetrius.
Oh, and you're being realistic about it. Like, you're not lying. You're just saying, you're being honest about it and your experience. So it like gives them the real look about it.
Exactly. And we think that's a great thing, Roy. And, you know, it's really been a treat, man. It's been a pleasure having you on tonight, sir.
Yes.
I'm glad to be on, man. I appreciate what y'all are doing too, and the multiple guests that you guys have on, just inspiring people. So keep doing what you guys are doing. But yeah, it's been an honor. This has been fun. I know I talk a lot, but I loved it. It was great.
Oh man, it was amazing, man. Like definitely. But yeah, dude, before we get up out of here, please, you know, for all of our listeners on power214.com and all of our viewers on YouTube, please tell them your social media information. Tell them anything you have coming up. Like, just let them know what you got going on right now, Roy.
Sure thing. No, thank you for that. So the personal is at Roy T3 on Instagram, and everything else I believe is Roy Moye III, ROYMOYE, capital III. For the STEM music side of things, everything is at the STEM Music, TheStemusic on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We do have a TikTok, which is really fun, and that's at STEM Music Nation. And so we have a lot of fun on there. And then our website, we're getting ready to launch our new website. But for right now, it's www.roymoye3music.com/STEMmusic. It will soon be www.thestemmusic.com, which I'm super excited about. So we'll be launching that pretty soon. We will be launching one of our music videos called Rockets Go Up. We're trying to launch that at the same time that the next SpaceX launch is happening, which it was going to be on Halloween, but now it's going to be like mid-November. So we're trying to pair that up and release that around that time, where it's a song all about rockets and how they work. And so that should be coming. And then we're going to be doing something really fun for Christmas as well, and having a GoFundMe with that to raise money for a book scholarship for a graduating high school senior locally here in Wichita. So super excited about just the stuff that we got going on. And yeah, feel free to support us. Your listeners out there, even if you're not a kid, you will definitely be bopping your head to this music and having a good time learning random things. It's fun. So yeah, thank you.
Definitely. You're welcome. And I can attest to that, because like I was saying with me and Joshua earlier, listening to your math song, that was dope, man. I was definitely bopping my head to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And also Roy, I like how you start out every video with "We are STEM music."
Yeah.
That's a good reference.
See culture. You know how people got the tags on everything they do. DJ Khaled, we the best. It's like we call it STEM music every time.
Yep, and it is amazing. So yes, like So yeah, everybody out there, man, everybody on YouTube, everybody on power214.com, please look up the STEM music, look up Roy Moye III, like look up everything this man is doing. He's just doing a lot of fantastic things for the underrepresented communities in STEM. It's just awesome. So please go support.
And I forgot to mention one more thing. We are launching our STEM Music virtual concerts very soon. We just put together a whole commercial to promote that. And so that's basically a 50-minute virtual live concert of me singing the songs from that STEM Music EP. I do an experiment, and then we do a fun math game with the huge blow-up dice at the end. So if you're a nanny out there, if you're a parent out there, in a school district teacher, you need something to, put a break in your day or whatever the case may be, that's something that will be available on our website pretty soon. So we're really excited about launching that.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. We can't wait for it, honestly. And yeah, for all of our viewers out there, we will put all of Roy's information in the description below. So please be looking out for that. And yeah, guys, like every time, it is time for my promotion. My shameless promotion. Yes. So you can catch the Square Roundtable podcast on power214.com every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Central time, and 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Catch it on YouTube at the Square Roundtable anytime Friday. If you like it, subscribe and comment down below. And hit that notification bell so we, get a notification of our next video.
All right. And yeah, everyone here, go ahead and introduce yourselves one time, including our great guest for tonight, Roy Moye III. Yeah, guys, this has been the Square Roundtable. My name is Chad Singleton.
Josh Singleton.
Roy Moye III.
And we are out. Peace.
Peace.